Give me some more of the ganja. This is for Chivayo. Let me give some to Manangagwa. Let me give some to Manangagwa. Chivayo was burning the marijuana when he met Manangagwa. When he met Manangagwa. Now the country is burning. The people are crying. The leaders are lying. They blame it on the sanctions. Chivayo Manangagwa. Now they run the country. They say, what a disaster. We're going to blame the sanctions. Chivayo is burning the marijuana. And he gets it for Manangagwa. He says, give me the gold, give me the gold. Zimbabwe is burning. The people are crying. The leaders are lying. They blame it on the sanctions. Chivayo was burning the marijuana, and he gets it from Manangagwa. He says, give me the gold, give me the gold.
So I think most of you guys, you're following what is going on. I think, I had made the deliberate, decision not to touch on this, but the events of today have forced me to discuss, this. I know some folks might say, but Anga's, but this one, it ties, it shows everything that is wrong, with Zimbabwe, and why we are saying that, or why I always say that, we need to uproot, the system, because the system is messed up in Zimbabwe. This is not about the domestic disputes between Chivayo and ex-wife Yagi. No. This issue and what has happened today sits at the uncomfortable intersection of power, policing, and personal relationships in Zimbabwe. The most saddening thing about this is we have seen this, in play. Some people have actually gone down as a result of the kind of, a flexing of muscles that this individual, does. He had his mother-in-law, arrested, right? And his ex-wife arrested. There were so many charges, that were, I think 3 charges. The one to do with children, a contempt of court, and then went on to the other one to do with the image of the president, or whatever. And then the other one of fraud, and then now this, the cyber, the cyber thing. But by him withdrawing, this case, it's not just a celebrity headline. So, I mean, folks might want to take it as a celebrity, headline, but it is not. It is something. It is a window, right, into how criminal law can be bent. It can be strayed, and sometimes outright abused when the complainant is somebody was so petulant enough and narcissist enough to think that he wields influence, he has access, and he's got that much in terms of proximity to political power. So he had these people arrested. Charges were dropped. Some of the charges they collapsed early because there were no charges at all. There weren't any charges. Like the one about him being refused access to children. There wasn't an issue because he had the children already. The one about like what he revealed about the fraud. That I heard that they wanted to access the money. Come on, guys. So there was one that had remained, the cybercrime allegation. That they doctored an image of him with the South African president Cyril Ramaphosa as a way of pushing back against the remarks of the spokesperson. So that case has been withdrawn, today. So the case is gone. Entirely is gone. But the remark that he made afterwards when he was talking to the press, it is a remark that should be troubling anyone who cares about the rule of law in Zimbabwe. Basically, in instance, they said that my mother's lost a time or stint, those few days in jail were punishment enough for her behavior. The behavior which has not been proven, by a court of law. Okay, if indeed her mother-in-law had done what he's accusing her of doing, why not let it play out in the courts? What is he afraid of? Why not let it play out in the courts if indeed this woman is guilty of this allegation? There were folks, that then, that image, AI said, there's no detection of any AI here. So the weight of the evidence that was standing against him was so much. And I'm hearing, Lutendo was saying that he wanted them to go down the route of Mike Chimombe for them to spend more time inside. But the pressure was just too much for him. The statement that he made is not just a throwaway line, ladies and gentlemen. It is, to me, it is an admission that tells me that the criminal justice system in Zimbabwe is not being used to pursue justice, but to inflict punishment in domestic, disputes, like, the one, like the case, that is, before us. There's a suggestion in there that arrest and detention, which is a constitutional, which within a constitutional, democracy, should be the last, resort. But instead here, they're being deployed as tools of leverage, intimidation, and humiliating people. All this was just to humiliate and punish people. Sonia Mason in Romzia, you know how that woman, carries, herself. Now she's out there in prison gear. What does that amount to? Now the pictures are all over. That's humiliating, the mother of your child. Humiliating your mother-in-law. And then he has got the audacity to say, ukama upere because ningitine now. Oh, man, why didn't you think about that before you took the action, that you took? So when you're looking at this now, this is where the issue becomes bigger than Wicknell or Chivayo. He thinks it's big, but these issues are bigger than him. They're bigger than his marriage. They're bigger than the personalities that are involved, in this matter here. Because when an individual decides to treat the criminal justice system as a private weapon, it raises three fundamental questions for me. What does this say about access to policing? Because ordinary citizens, they fail to even summon, the police. Um, there are crimes that are being committed in Zimbabwe, and ordinary citizens cannot summon the police to arrest people. Let alone to, you as an ordinary person, you cannot even summon, the police, bring the someone to arrest your mother-in-law over a family, dispute. You cannot manufacture a criminal consequence to settle emotional scores, because this is exactly, what he did. And the fact that you've got a machinery that can be moved so quickly for him tells us something about unequal access to state power in Zimbabwe. And that must be stopped. And that is fun. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, must be stopped. And another question, that arises, what does this say about prosecutorial discretion in Zimbabwe? If charges can be laid, dropped, revived, withdrawn, depending on one's mood, that, oh, I'm happy now, or my children were asking, where's mommy, and or this, and then that plays, on your mood, and then you decide to say, okay, let me, drop, these charges. Then the law is no longer a neutral instrument. It is becoming a personalized service available to some, inaccessible to others. That is what we are facing. That is the situation here. It's a tragedy. If you don't see that as a tragedy, I know there are some people who no matter this gentleman, who glorify him in his stupidity, but there comes a point where we have to step back and ask ourselves, what does this say about the broader culture of impunity? When one can openly boast that a few nights in jail were the punishment they intended all along, that is dangerous. It signals a dangerous normalization of pre-trial detention, and that has been a tool that Zimbabwe or that the regime is using to discipline people. We can count how many people are spending time pre-trial. Some even close to a year. We've got young people who are languishing, in jail, right now on pre-trial detention. We've got those, that we've been, punished the pre-trial. And they're using that as a way of disciplining, people. You don't do that. Detention is supposed to be a constitutional safeguard, not a private punishment chamber. One is creating their own chamber to punish people. That is very dangerous on Omari. I don't know, how we live, with ourselves, how we see this, but that is very dangerous. I'm not saying, he's wrong, or anyway is wrong in the way that, he's doing it. And the fact that they are bringing in the criminal justice system and using it as a court of convenience for them. The police are supposed to be serving the public, not the powerful. A line has to be drawn, and that line has to be, visible. You can't use civil disputes and criminal allegations to, to blur the line to give one person an advantage. So when the criminal law becomes a weapon in domestic disputes, the rule of law itself becomes collateral damage, ladies and gentlemen. So I just thought that, let me vent for maybe a couple of hours. But that right there is not right, man. We cannot continue to live in a society, like this. We can't. Ndaraji.
Baba, moyo wangu uri kurwadziwa.
Ah,
And pane unoziva kuti chonanya kundirwadza ichi, this is personal, Uncle Jed. John, mwana wa Chivayo,
yes.
is autistic. I got so much help from him
Right.
because my son is autistic. The reason why I stay so much in Zim is because of my son. I would say that I grew up in Leicester, UK, but
Oh, yes, I know.
because of my son is autistic, like I spent more time here. I know what Sonja went through because my referrals, Ese, Emmanuake, she did the same Kwatiri, and I took my son there. And I then went to raise my son by myself. Ndakamusirwa aine 2 years. Now he's 4.
Right.
And I've flown with him to the UK about 30 times. The reason ndakatigarise mbichana ndakadzirwa mbichana was zvakandinetsa kuti ndiwane his UK visa. Paakazopuwa BRP, I realized kuti handato ne 1.5 years. So that's how I then went kana nchitaura zvana Blue Movement, whatever. I've been everywhere. Nachibaya na Ustalos na everywhere. But ndaiti ndikaenda nyangwe I remember sometime ndakaenda kuBlelima andirariko ndinorara ndiri pamwana wangu. And for this is where it pains me most kuti for a father like myself kuti uzoti mai ambuya vako vane mwana wako ari autistic vagopedza 2 days ndivo main carer kana tiri kuuk main carer. I looked at people vari autistic kuuk ndikaona vachiita vari very slow in their movement towards normalcy. I waited so long kuti ndiaseserwe mwana wangu kuNHS. Kunoku it took me my money kuti zviitike mangwana. So mwana wangu ari attached kwandiri inini. I don't know. I then think kuti mwana ari attached kuna Sonja. Kumusia 2 nights, 3 nights asingaone mai vake. It's something chandisina mbonyatsonzwisisa kuti Wicknell vari kuda kuita sei. Only kuti asave mari. Only kuti asave. He's standing before the president because this one yaimunyudza yanga iri kumunyudza dai asina kuita zvakaita, but inini ndokutaurira kuti shamari for my son I'll go undersea. I would have just said chef zviri kwamuri izvi ndakufona ndiri kuuk or somewhere ndiri kureurura madhiro NS ndisiye ndive free nemwana wangu. This guy is cruel, but then it's the same government that we know, the same people that we know. Ndakarwadziwa because I'm most of my time in Zim. Ndakarwadziwa ndichiona decapitation ya Mary Mbaiwa. Mary Mbaiwa achipemenwa. I don't know whether you guys know the shona yekupemenwa kuitwa kubviswa mabranches ne everything zviri pauri vakatarisa vachiwenga vachirara somewhere. I used to go heritage sometime ndichimboticha mateachers avo the way British system or British education system. I also helped so much quite a number of schools were not teaching because I was an examiner until a few years, 2 years ago, where GCE Form 6 or A level economics sakandinombo nama ndara unoona vana ndichiti ni vana vari panapa havasi kukwanisa kuona mai vavo vapemenwa vasina gumba vasina ruoko vasina china baba ivo chaivo pachavo vakararamira kuchina ukutadza kuafodha maive vana vako such treatment. Saka ndichiti isusu mhuka dzatodhila nadzo dzinonzi ZANU-PF gentlemen, if you don't know them, imondi pakushaya mukadzi mumwe chete mupati anosumuka kana murume mumwe chete anosumuka achiti this is out of order, ngatibatsirei mweya wamwana. They don't. These guys will kill for power. They will eat you up for power. These are cannibals. How do you do that? How do you do that? And I want to think kuti Wicknell aenda akanogara pasi chef kanogara pasi president akati ndochiita sei apa, akanzi ayo enda uno withdraw charge, akati ko mari yangu apa amushandibati here apa, akati ayo no zvatopera mazimbabwenzi akangana. So what do we need? And you don't see magenta organizations achisumuka pakadai vakanyarara completely. Why? Because most of them vakuleadwa neZANU-PF. So we are in a in a mess. Laws are supposed to be equitable and just. They must never fluctuate. But then muno Zimbabwe, kuti pane a parallel cabinet that's running this country, and that parallel cabinet is Gananda. They've access to almost everywhere. This is why I'm afraid what's going to happen next. This is why I urge all Zimbabweans and all citizens to come together, to join hands. We fight this regime. You're not going to be just fighting CAB, because CAB, if you want to see it, basically it's a factional fight. And we are today fighting very hard to teach an interdict. I was trying to persuade my friend Prince, because he's the litigant in the other case. I'm saying, look, yeah, even though Parliament is coming back on the 2nd, Timbo Mira, no, let's not wait for that, because I got here, yeah, let's do it. And he's now, we had them whole morning trying to, come up with this interdict. I don't know what Professor Maduku is going to say, but something is coming up. We have to fight the regime. KB distraction yekuti tiite yekuinvolve the whole country into their factional fight ndezvamugabe naMnangagwa, but zvinoita impact heavily on the citizenry yeZimbabwe. That's why I'm saying kuti macitizen tirise tibvise chihurumende ichi. It's actually not kuti toda kuenda kuhondo. It's not something treasonous. It is our right, our constitutional right, to remove this tyrant regime. Tyrant regime insensitive, risingazii chinonzi madzimai, risingazii chinonzi vana. Kana uri baba, vaMnangagwa vane mukadzi, vaMnangagwa vane vana. Why did he not intervene? Why did he not come in? And this way, that's why I was telling someone kuti wakomanaga, here we have got a huge elephant in the name of Wicknell chest. Ndafungidzira kuti ndamutarisisa kuti ndonoti ndeye Jim here kana ndeye no ndeye Fete. We've got a very big elephant with the brains of a fly. Brain ke nunzi chaiko kari muna Wicknell Chivayo. That's why we are in a mess. That's why I think izvi zvandinyadzisa izvi naVaRamaphosa komana vanoshamaridzanawo nezvakadai here. If we can't do it here, let's also do it in South Africa. We need to persuade our South Africans to impeach this tyrant. We want this guy kuti abude sekubuda kwakaita Mugabe. Thank you very much.
Right, thank you very much, Mdaraji. I do appreciate. Thank you very much. Right, so Ngimkoma Lenzo, Murise, say how you doing? Ngoma Lenzo.
Uncle Jets. Yeah.
Taura yenyu.
Makuditswere.
Yeah, makunzwika ngoma. Zuri say?
Oh, mushe. Should say, Uncle Jets, thank you so much for always bringing sharp, piercing topics about what is happening in our teapot country, Zimbabwe. We love our country, guys. Ladies and gentlemen, we love our country. The moment you see us talking bad about our country, it's not like we hate it. We still love our country. But what is happening in Zimbabwe is so sad that we keep on experiencing the weaponization of the law. Kuti inoshanda kumwe kuside aishanda. I remember that cell phone snatcher up to now is escort free somebody the video captured him snatching the phone. But up to now, we haven't any report from the police that they took action against him. And we see Chivayo making sure that Tsonja namai vake vapinda muchikwere. After that, a case is withdrawn and he continues to say vanzwa, but it's so embarrassing that our judiciary, as we look, the way it is operating, it's a captured judicial system whereby it only serves those Ganandas and the few elite. So we should join hands as Zimbabwe to stop all this nonsense, this selective application of the law. The law must be applied accordingly, not looking at where somebody is coming from. Regardless of one's political affiliation or social economic background, we should just respect the law as it is. Ganandas have captured the judiciary system. They've nearly captured everything. We saw even what they are doing, what they did to the opposition. Mnangagwa is somebody who is just allowing himself to work with this Gananda. Achungo splash a mari for nothing, yet the hospitals are drugless. Our roads are full of potholes. How many years does it take for us to finish the Harare Bight Bridge Road? Where is the money going? Zimbabwe is a rich country in terms of mineral deposits. Because if you talk of Great Daigichet, we've just exposed 20% of the mineral deposits. There's money there in that country. It's a small country with very few people, but there's money there in the country. Where is the money going? Into few hands. Then we see Ganandas trying to arm twist the law, trying to grease the police force, trying to grease the judicial system. Chivayo, apana singaziwe, he was once he's a convict, not once a convict. He's still a convict. But there's the BIG, he's still a convict. And why is moving around capturing everything like that? And we keep on folding our hands. Guys, kana iri nguva yekuti zvakwana sokwanile. This is the time now. This is the time. I remember the other time in 2023, I wrote something about Emerson Mnangagwa towards elections 2023, that if you allow this man to take over Zimbabwe, we are going to have a disastrous term. It's going to be a disastrous term. And this is what came into fruition 3 years now, starting from last year. The guy is pushing for a third term. I even pinned it on my Twitter, that if you allow this man to win this election or to do whatever on this election, sure, we are heading for a serious disaster. Thank you, Uncle Jed.
Right. Thank you very much. For that. I mean, I do appreciate, guys. If you want to make a contribution, as I said, I'm not here for a long, for long. I mean, for a long time. I'm only going to do about 2 hours, and then I'll call it a day. Right. But you see, what you're raising, right now, I'm seeing, there are reports that this image, right, which he says it was doctored, AI doctored by his mother-in-law, who went on to post, this thing on social media, right? He's actually the one who sent out, that thing. It's his image. We know the guy is a Zimbabwe next top model when it comes to images, when it comes, to pictures.
Especially with the presidents.
Yes, with presidents. If he can be having pictures taken with other presidents and him posting these online, what's so special about this Ramaphosa thing? because they were caught in their lie.
Yeah.
And now this has caused, I think, I see Musi Maimani, he has written a strong letter to Cyril, Ramaphosa about, this. And the fallout was going to be, it was going to be monumental. But he's behaving like, this demigod. He's behaving like, this untouchable, individual. This is not right. This is not right. This right here. Right. The Pan-African.
Yes, Uncle Jets.
How you doing, my brother?
I'm fine. How are you on that part of the world?
We are just hanging in there, my bro.
No, that's good. It's been a while. It's been a while. Anyway,
Ex- yeah.
just a quick one. I've been contemplating and just thinking to myself. I think I commented on one of your posts the other time, and I said, as Zimbabwean citizen, we must appreciate the fact that the current administration came through a coup. That's a very, very important and profound acknowledgement that we should have as citizens. And based on that, whatever comes after that, you must know that it's based on that coup. The coup happened, and the rest of it is just fitting into that system. So as much as we fight, I understand. I do understand with utmost understanding. But we must be able to understand, to accept that we are not yet out of the woods because of that coup. So we tend to, I think we just tend to brush it aside to say it is over and done with. But I don't think we are appreciating the dynamics of it from the way I see it, how it started, and where how it ended up getting an administration of Mugabe getting toppled. Because you throw in the mix of Russia, you throw in the mix of China, and you throw in ANC and what ANC has been saying with Fikile Mbalula coming out to say there's a new world order that we are trying to establish. And you see the events that before that election was done, everyone went to Russia. The ones who were concerned, they had to go to Russia. I don't know for what reason. So I personally think we are being affected by that, and all the governments that are involved. It's not only Zimbabwe. It's not only Zimbabwe. It's actually the Southern African region that is being affected, and we need definitely to look into that and see how we can come out of the effects of the coup. And whatever happens now, what is happening, it's out of that, and they are emboldened because they could take leadership because of through a coup. So what are you going to do? So that is what we have to confront and deal with. Yes, Ango Jets.
Right. No, I hear you, my brother. I hear you. And Pagaiba. Because the way this is exactly what we are talking about when we are bringing in the aspect of this Cap 3, right? So when you're placing this in this environment, there's a bigger question that then gets asked, bigger than the amendment, itself. What
Yeah,
happens when the constitutional power is expanded in a system where informal power is already unchecked? These
yes.
guys, they are sitting closer to the people who are behind the Cap 3. So if they get it their way,
Yeah, Uncle Jets, if you get a chance, or anyone get a chance, just familiarize yourself with a documentary that was done on Putin,
Mhm.
the Russia, on Russia, Putin, how he get into power. You will be, the similarities are so cunning. I can put it that way. The similarities are so cunning that when I looked at it, and having looked at that documentary done on the constitution, and what Mangwana was saying in that constitution, when we're doing our constitution, the certain sentiments that he was indicating, I was just like, yeah. Then you hear Mbalula on the other side, and the cap 3 is just something that is that it's a something. By the way, let's not even talk about cap 3, because you can talk about it and say we are thinking as an economist. There's a term that I always like to talk about, to say it's called ceteris paribus. They
Oh
call it
yes,
ceteris
yes.
paribus,
Mm.
holding everything constant. That's
Constant,
what we are
yes.
thinking as Zimbabweans. We are saying, holding everything constant, the constitution is still functional, which is
Mm.
in totally non-existent. It's not happening. So we must take that fact that we are not in ceteris paribus. We are
Yes.
actually in a situation where it's dependent on the architecture of the coup, and that, if we appreciate that, then we can start to talk. But before that, we are just turungomwa mukaka sevana tichingofungidzira kuti tiri kudya sadza apa hatisi. So yeah, it's just a lullaby that we are in. We just have to take that. And even when the election, if they want to do what they want to do, they will do it. We can say what we want, but they will do what they want, because they have been emboldened, they have been empowered, not by Zimbabweans only, but there are certain forces behind that have an agenda beyond Zimbabwe that we must appreciate. And if all this is happening, it's just happening because, yeah, those forces are there. So we need to untie from that. Unfortunately, when that lady, what's her name? Not Margaret Thatcher, the lady who was prime minister at that time, who came and gave a speech to say we are going to help Zimbabwe from Britain. I can't remember her name. They were
Right.
actually hoodwinked. They were actually hoodwinked. They thought they are actually enabling, but wakazoona kuti atavharwa. So that is the situation from my take.
Right.
Uh, yes.
Aiwa, thank you very much, Ningi, and for that, Mkoma. Thank you very much. I do appreciate. You see, as a Zimbabweans, with this current administration, it seems as if we are living in a world of our own, where things do not matter anymore. There's a doctrine of abuse of process, and that
Yes.
doctrine, it exists for a reason, and it exists to prevent what we are seeing with Wicknell Chivayo right now.
We are in a loop. We call it a loop.
It's just crazy, what is happening.
Yeah, it is. But if you look at from the point that I'm looking at, it's what it's those are the effects of what happened in 2017. Those are the effects, and there's nothing we can do much if we don't diagnose that. Mukaenda kuchipatara mukanzi zvakataura mutubudzi kuti mhopo pamusana chikonzero chaitisa mhopo pamusana, because these are effects. They are emboldened because of certain things. So yeah, I mean, we need to diagnose it the right way, then start to entangle it from that side. Otherwise, we will be cracking our heads all the time.
Right. Iowa, thank
Thank
you
you.
very much, Mkoma. Right. For those of you guys, who wants to make a contribution, you can right, you can you can make a request, and then I'll bring you on as a speaker. So, as I was saying, the process, I mean, this doctrine of abuse of process, is there to prevent people like Chivayo using kusungisa vanhu, asking them to be detained, and also using the prosecution tools that exist in a nation as tools of intimidation or leverage. There's precedence. There's precedence when it comes to this, because in so many jurisdictions it has been constantly been held that when you see a criminal proceedings being initiated for an ulterior motive to punish or to embarrass or to gain an advantage in a civil or domestic dispute, then the integrity of that justice system is compromised. But I don't know, Kutizo, in our system, do we not realize or do we not see these things?
Uncle Jez,
Yeah.
whilst you are still there, do you know where it starts from? Yes, the judiciary is playing a very critical role also in trying to manipulate the outcome of such cases, because it happens. I used to be in the police force for 11 years. So what happens is, I was like stationed at the Border police station, right? A person comes in, maybe he's been robbed, I mean, like fraud and so forth, by somebody who is very, very prominent. Then what happens? The person, the officer who is in the charge office, he takes all the reports, right? He takes everything and he puts the docket there.
Mm-hmm.
The IC, the in charge crime, comes and handles the docket. You will see that this docket, it is involving a very prominent figure.
Mm-hmm.
Before he takes act, he puts some instructions on the docket, because he must put some instructions on the docket so that the IO, the person who is going to investigate that case, will follow the instructions of the IC. So that docket is put aside before it is allocated to a junior officer, because they know the moment they allocate a junior officer will quickly go and arrest that person and lock him up. So the IC crime, the in charge crime, that is an assistant. He might be an assistant inspector, he might be a sergeant. He takes the docket and he puts it there. Then he calls the DCI, right, the district in charge, right? Here's the docket involving maybe a politician or what. Then they say, okay, fine, hold on to that docket. Let me confirm from the next person. That's how the chain goes. You understand?
Right.
So it will quickly get to the commissioner. And the commissioner now will give a directive downwards, cascading downwards, that take this action against that person. I've seen a number of political big wigs, especially from ZANU-PF, being released without any charges. Because why? Chuhuri would have given an instruction down the ranks to say, no, release that person immediately. And that person will be released. And the moment he's released, he goes back to those people. He knows that he plays around with the commissioner of what. Then they start giving the money. You see? So this is what used to happen during the Chuhuri's era. And it's continuing under this Mutamba. That's why you saw Matanga was very, very honest. That's why Matanga was quickly removed and Mutamba was drafted back into the system.
Right.
So that's where the corruption starts. You understand?
Yeah, Bagaiba. I don't know what Chivayo was thinking, with his statement. Whether he was thinking with Shamsira when he said one's got buttercup. To me, I don't even know, his modus operandi in terms of his thinking, process, because he was just admitting there, whatever it is, that happened, there was a motive, behind.
That's
And that is the definition of an ulterior purpose of
Yeah.
using the judicial system to punish and inflict suffering on
Awesome.
his ex-wife and his mother-in-law.
Awesome.
Anyway, hey Marcy, do you want to come through?
Oh, I didn't know that Wicknell has put out a statement.
Oh, he did.
Yeah. No, I was, the way I look at it, it says that whilst we look at an oppressive system as always powerful, all seeing, all knowing, all powerful, they make mistakes. And these are some of the mistakes that they are making.
Mhm.
When power corrupts, it corrupts. But when absolute power corrupts, it corrupts absolutely.
Absolutely.
And when it does that, sometimes we are not meant to look at it from a point of view of an extension of power. We are meant to look at it as an opportunity ourselves, because the power is it's now eating itself. Eh?
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. I hear you there.
Yeah, it starts
Mm.
to make grave mistakes. And our interpretation of what it is doing is what will be the difference between whether you take the advantage or you marvel at the absoluteness of its power. Are you getting it? We can sit here and view it as wow. Now they have really captured the judiciary. And then we together with them being absolutely powerful will be absolutely oppressed. Or we can look at it and start to see the glitches in this chain link. Emerson Mnangagwa has gone and got weak links. Weak links. And that is his problem of wanting to go and get these exhibitionists around himself. Mugabe used to prosecute quite a lot. But he would do it outside the court system. He would met out his own justice system, blacklisting people, doing all that. He would stay away from the courts as much as he would for personal things, because he knew that how it would be viewed would be to show that he is a paranoid, weak, easily upset person. He is an ego-driven person. He didn't want that. He wanted to create the allure of gentleman, always, about his wits, and he can control the crowd around him. That's how we perceived Mugabe. You remember? Even though we knew that what he's doing to us is oppressive. Mugabe we used to create our stories. When people die, oh, it's the black dog that did it. When people get dismissed, we wonder. It doesn't put it out, the facts out in the public, what happened. Emerson Mnangagwa is a weak man, very weak. And I think because he was a person who sat envious of another man's power. And he would think, what would I do if I'm powerful? And he fed himself with the look of power. So he wanted it to show power. So you see, when he came into power, he didn't go in and look at powerful men in the country and draw them closer to himself. He's fearful of real power. So he went and got illusionary power, the one that is exhibitionist. Ana Wicknell, Ana Mike Chimombe, Ana Passion Java, all these exhibitionists, he surrounded himself with them. Now, if you want to know a person's character, they say you must look at what? Their friends, isn't it? Wicknell Chivayo is exemplifying Emerson Mnangagwa's paranoia, eh? Childish, is it childish? You're childish. It's a word, huh? childish tendencies. He is also showing a lack of wisdom, which is the absolute necessity of a leader. Wisdom, Uncle Jet. To sit there and say, whilst I may be upset about this, or how dare you do this to me, what does it look like if I take this action? Now, Wicknell does not think like that. He is a boy. He thinks like a boy. And in his boyful thinking, he just suddenly has these toolbox. You have had boys, Uncle Jet, and you've bought them those toy kits, ka toolbox, ke ningi, ka drill, ke fake, ka ningi. You've seen them attempt to drill chinichisinga drill, and luckily it was a toy, and it didn't drill. Auto drill a sofa, auto drill a bed, auto drill everything. Wicknell Chivayo is now in proximity with power, and he is going about in that toolbox, getting everything and using it. Pasiripo. Now, the weakness of Emerson Mnangagwa is not to sit this boy down and say, what are you doing? Just because I gave you access to this drill, why are you using it there? Because Emerson Mnangagwa is like that. And that is the weakness we should look at. He's an exhibitionist. And exhibitionists create opportunity for the oppressed to be upset. And Vakava upset, this is constantly creating opportunities for us to react adversely. Unfortunately, maybe for us, the ones that they've chosen to use as spectacle, there are people who we don't have empathies to that level. I'm sorry for Sonia. Naturally, people who have dined with the devil, they don't solicit as much sympathy. Now I've moved from empathy. Sympathy is the ability for us to put ourselves in her shoes and feel her pain. Empathy is just, I understand what you're going through. Doesn't normally move you to do anything. Right now we are showing her empathy. It's unfair. If it was sympathy, where we say this is wrong, chances are we would take an opportunity to react. It happened with the wife of the general, Mary. It's because who are they that this is happening to? These are the wives, girlfriends, friends, small houses of people who will also, unfortunately, psychologically attach to the grand theft. So part of this story, whether, others are pushing to show the injustice, it is because there are people who are also beneficiaries of the grand theft. When Wicknell Chivayo was marrying this woman, money was being chucked left, right, and center. And there was an affront to others. I remember Wicknell writing, Kuti, Kuzimbabwe kwakazara nzenza. Here he went and married a virgin, separated her. So there's a disenfranchisement between herself, her mother, and the public. But nonetheless, if they continue in this way, this could create an opportunity for us because this is a weakness of the system. It is an exhibitionist. And in most countries where there's been a rebellion that has happened impromptu, it is citizens being upset by an action done by a system. Let them hold another person who we identify with sympathetically. Sonia just is unfortunate. She is in the Mary crew. Vakadzi vavo. And when they get sorted, yes, we see the wrong. But at the same time, psychologically, they have also just recently become detached, but they are fighting proceeds of crime. I'm just being honest with you, Uncle Jet. People are only writing about this, but behind the scenes, there is not much sympathy that is being given to her. We are spectating, definitely spectating. But nonetheless, yeah, it's the weakness. It is getting weaker and weaker. One of his criminals around him will do something that will piss off society. And that is the time they will fall. Unfortunately, Sonia didn't give us. I was hoping it would arise, but you can even see the women's quota is not really doing the whole. How could you do this to a woman? How could you? It's because of that attachment. Yes, most of them have attempted to say when they have left their um, husbands and boyfriends of looting together, they do come to society, but I think they need to learn now. Once they leave that den of thieves, they must give society substance that will cause society to attach to them. They have never brought us any news that will expose criminality. They've never got us. They have been selfish. And then when things happen to them, they now require society to stand with them to undo an injustice to them. All these girlfriends that are current with them, advice to them. Msuwa uno buda ipapo. At least give society something that they will see for real, for real. Iwewe wato jamuka newe, wato move from there. But so far, no, she hasn't. She's cried about the loot and she has exposed how much that loot was. And she is seeking it personally as something odd to her. Yet we know that these are proceeds of crime. I always say, Uncle Jet, freedom is about truth to power. We must analyze our society in the truth of what they feel. These are thieves, matsotsi, hagerane. And now they are becoming aware of what they had been using for others. So ndio problem ya Sonia, unfortunately. Yes, she may have felt she has got the public because she's come and given us tabloid-worthy things. But there is no substance for freedom that she has given us. Real tangible information about what used to happen when she was there. Because as the wife, partner, mother, bedmate, there is far more that she knows. But all she has revealed is how profitable this enterprise that she was in was for them. The amount of houses that are being exposed to exist across the SADC in Zimbabwe, the amount of wealth that is there for a marriage so young between two young people who have not got a company that is known with employees that are drawing pensions or drawing anything from. It is bizarre that they are fighting for this amount of wealth, especially that for the things that we know him for, he has not delivered. How has the family been able to make all that money that is being fought for? So to me, it's an opportunity for them to go before the courts and reveal to Zimbabweans the enterprise that happens in marriage, personally, and also to teach others, young girls who have now created a culture of thinking kubudirira in Zimbabwe is to attach yourself sexually to a chigananda, to see the patriarchy that is happening in Zimbabwe, where strong men, when they are defeated in marriage or when they make wrong choices in picking bedmates or mothers of their kids, they retaliate using the system. And that should teach a lot of the young girls that right now are seeking that proximity to power, what it does. We saw it with Mary when it was absolute to the point where health was disregarded. Now, pictures are the least of somebody, but now he has drawn something else. The fabric of marriage, family. When someone says, I want to teach my mother-in-law, now you start to see the caliber in terms of personality, values, and principles, what these Vikanandas hold dear, even if we can parade as a religious person, we have now seen what they are. Nobody, it's not African for you, Uncle Jet, to stand in front of the public and say, Unoda kusotesa. Because,
Imagine. Couldn't those women know that was what they say, my that.
but remember,
Huh?
even in African tradition,
It's unheard of.
the relationship doesn't stop because you have children. So he is gogo evana vako. Ndiye uri kusotesa publicly in the courts.
The one who brings my blessing in our tradition, the one who brings my blessings.
You went to the matriarch and you said, Papo, I want the one who gave birth to the mother of your children, even if all things failed with Auntie Jenny, Gogo remains true substance. You say, naye. So we now start to see the character of the person. So how will they respect anything in Zimbabwe? What will they respect? Nothing. Ndiko kunonzi ashaya hunu. And the African tradition says, it's got a word in the bed. Ungalahla ubuntu. We should stop treating you like a person watomuka. And we have one king that fell because of that. Chaga.
Right.
The minute society declared kuti ashaya hunu, they said what? Eliminate. So that humanity may what? Be preserved.
Absolutely.
Kamfana aka kari kushowa ma glitches in this absolute power. Sonia is collateral damage, unfortunately.
Yeah. Wow. Anyway, thank you very much, Masi. I appreciate. Mapingure charumbira murise charumbira.
Dzirina languages. We say togodi tinongo vama spectators. Unfortunately, isusu takafanana. As an example, yandingapa mapenzi mairi akavhariwa. Tingati zvakaita yatinoziva ngucheni. Saka vakaronga kuti haiwa isi toda kuti tibude shamwari panapa vari 2. But zvatichaita toda kusvika kunorova ari pagedho. Tomubata tomusunga tamusunga toita sei tobuda because hatichada zvokugara muromo. Mapenzi aya akaronga akawirana kubva vaenda ndokusvika pagedhi paya. Ukuona gadhi rasipo. But gedhi rakavhurika.
Right.
Kubva vadzokera zvikwanzi rikatoone kana adzoka tichazomudzokera futi. Saka imagine kuti gedhi rakavhurika.
But what the gadget?
Yeah. So this is now coming back to ask you. Isusu tine kamuka culture katinako kukuti we have admitted we are sitting as spectators, but sema spectators atisiri takangogara zvekuti unenge muri kumaterrace muchionawo zvenyu pamuri free pamunogona kubuda pano tutambo twakaiswa tunongo appear as if you are locked in a jail cell. But tutambo utoto turi so weak zvekuti kungoenda kungodhonza kwakudambuka. But now we are made to believe kuti ifensi yakasimba singamboiti hapana zvatingaita. Why ndichidaro nokuti zvataurwa pana previous speaker kuti ma spectators ndo zvatitori atina chikonzero chekuti zvibvunze right now kuti the weaknesses are getting pointed out namasi asiri ma weakness chete anongotaura kuti it's a weakness ingoripo zvayo yatinofanira kuti well, this is who he is. That weakness we are not capitalizing simply because we are believing we are in a jail cell that does not even have a fence inotomboda eni kana magredha kana uchii kuti tipazi haide izvozvo. Now ukatarisa kuti madzimai atotarisira kuti women organizations where are they? Havana vakumbotaura kana even kumboreza iwedi kuti why muchiita so imimi zvinhu zvamuri kuita zvakaipa havadaro chikonzero why chekutanga variko vakatowanda vanoti hamukuziva here uku sematauriro atoita kumasvingo hamukuziva here mukadzi ndoguya zvegwaishaina mazuva aya kuchidya mari kuchishainira nemurume iyu wasingazivi kuti mari yake inobva kupi saka toenda kutoti hamuvazive here mai vake ndivo mai vaya zve vaitishainira vachiti isusu zvino nhasi vapinzwa mujeri nemukwasha wavo wavaishaina naye. So there is a culture yataka-adopta, culture yatakamanikidzwa, because we have lost hunhu hwedu isusu, because we are believing in those people vatinoti vane mari, anzi ane mari ndiye mukuru. Dzimbo dzataiimba dzaiimbwa kunzi dzimbo vane mari ndiye ane mari ndiye mukuru, dziri dzimbo dzokutaura kuti zvakaipa, asi izvozvo ndo zvatakatozoteedzera kuti zveshuwa ane mari ndiye mukuru taakutoita izvozvo, and yet uyu aiimba uyu aitiudza kuti hazvisiri izvo, meaning to say iwewe as a man anoda kuzosimuka achitariswa nevana vako kuti wakasungisa gogo vedu, wakasungisa amai vedu, but still because iwewe you disregard everyone because une mari, vana vako chaiwo hautombooni reason wokuvatya kuti bvunzo ndiri kuita izvi mangwana zvichazondidzokera pavana vangu. So maweaknesses ese iwayo ari kudisplaya. Isusu we are not taking advantage. Why? Because mukatarisa zvataurwa earlier kuti mapurisa anonzi this case involves a top politician, saka mubvise zvinhu zvataiziva, zvinhu zvataingofungira, but kana zvakutaurwa nemunhu akambenga ari mupurisa zvakutotitaurira kuti there's something wrong with us because hapana chatiri kutya apa. It means police 95% yemapurisa varipo vakatomirira kuti zvinhu zviti zvichinje zvichibva kuvanhu because ivo vanoshanda under command. This command is so weak to the extent yekuti vanogona kungointimidata akabata docket kuita zvakati. It's an expose yatatisingazive kana daita kana pane vamwe vaifungidzira kuti hazvisiko zviri kuitika, ndo zviri kutoitika. Mapurisa ari kutozviziva kuti hatina power. Mukatarisa anonzi Coltart dog uyu akabirwa foni zviri pachena zvatinoziva tese, but munhu wacho akaita izvozvo tichizona ari kungofamba, haana kusungwa, haana kumbobvunzwa, haana kumboitwa sei, anotozikama. Ava ambuya ava vari kunzi nemwana wavo makaba foni allegedly. So there's a difference. Saka mapurisa oende onosunga munhu. Saka muri kuona kuti power iri kubva kupi? Hainei mapurisa, hazvinei nemapurisa, there's someone. Saka ndiani watiri kutya ini? That is my question. Takamirirei as spectators? Tiri kuenderei kugedhe tichida kunobuda toona gedhe rakavhurika, watiri kuda ndigadhijeri chete kuti tange tamurowa kuti tibude? Tine something chatiri kuleka, tinenge tiri kuenjoya, because this feeling or abuse of power haisiri abuse of power chete, but isusu tiri kubatsiridza because zviri pachena kungoti munhu uyu zveshe wasungisa munhu munoda kuti titi kudii? Handiti ndo mai vaya vokudya mari nemukwasha wavo, munoda kuti tipindire panyaya dzipi? Kana nesiwo mangwana mwana wangu aroorwa waninga, saka inini ndosumukire iwo saambuya valulu kuti zvawaita zvakaipa ko handini ndiri kudya, mboda kundinyimwe chikafu nemukwasha wangu, pedzerana ikoko, handiti mwana wenyu aida kuti wangu arambiwe koyeya. Saka zvakawandisa zvinoitika matiri zvatigona kutarisa chingoona kuti tingava blame, tingavaita sei, zvakatoipa zvavari kuita, but the weakness iri patiri manje. Ndosaka ndapa example yemapenzi mairi anotsvaga gadhijeri achidzoka because gedhe rakavhurika, pana kuti angobuda aende, ari kuda gadhijeri. Very 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 sad. My examples iwayaya ari anogona kutibatsira kuti tinyatsonzwisisa kuti foni yakabiwa takatarisa tese pasi rese, asi munhu wacho asungwi ko ava varonzi vanosuspectwa kunzi vakaba vari kusungirwei koma investigations dzacho kambofamba zvakasiyana papi so ndo inonzi abuse of power yatiri kubatsiridza isusu semaspectators anofunga kuti tiri mujere tisiri mujere. Thank you, Uncle Jez.
Right. Thank you very much. I appreciate. Yeah, awesome. Do you want to come through?
Jets, how are you everyone? Ndoda kutenda nemukana wamandipa uyu. Nyaya iyi nyaya inorwadza iyi. Inorwadza ngati panhu patatu. Chokutanga, chinhu chinonyanya kurwadza panyaya iyi inyaya yekuti mari ikapiwa benzi kana kuti ikaitwa nebenzi, vanhu vanosafa imhuri inenge iri immediate, nekuti mari yapiwa pamunhu benzi. Sei ndichidaro? Mukatarisa mashandisirwo ari kuitwa mari zvisiri zvekuda kupfidzisa mukadzi wake nenhambuya, the blatant disregard for value of money iri kudisplayiwa by this man inorwadza, especially munyika yokuti munotamburwa zvakadaro. Right now honai mashandisiro ari kuita mari yacho kushungurudza mukadzi wake. Hatingati ex-wife, yes vanotogona kuti ex-wife, but pane vana. Mukadzi wake naambuya vake. Angazove nemwoyo here wekufunga kuti inini maitiro andiri kuita mari kana kuti mashandisiro andiri kuita mari akanaka kana kuti akaipa. It just shows you the kind of heart these people have. If they can treat my immediate family members like that, ko iwe zvako mucitizen, itori lucky chairo kuti tiri kuwana mukana wekutombotaurawo tichiti zvinhu zvakaipa. I can bet you kuti ukangomutuka kana pasocial media anokutumira vakomana mufesu yavo. Ndosaka macelebrity ese achivapa mota, hakuna kana one akambomuka akasimudza muromo kuti zvauri kuita mukadzi wako hazviiti. Vese zvavo vese, whether ma-preachers, whether whoever, vanhu vari kupopota is just ordinary people. Ukatarisa macomments akawanda, hakuna celebrity kana prominent person aiataka this man. Kuratidza kuti power raanaro iri harizi right. Hatingaiswi mujere rekutadza kuona mamorals because pane munhu ane mari anokwanisa kushandisa mari kuita zvinhu zvakaipa kune anyone. Ndo chinhu chiri kurwadza ichocho. Chechipiri chiri kunyanya kurwadza panyaya iyi is how docile Zimbabweans are. Kune munhu abuda muromo akati mukadzi aitaura zvakaipa, mukadzi akazodai, aiunza nyaya pasocial media. Ukatarisa nyaya dzinoinvolva mapersonal life, iwe kana uri murume chaichaio, you are a head, you are confident in yourself, you sit down with your ex-wife, motaurirana zvakanaka. Kuzoona mukadzi akutaura mashoko pasocial media, iwe semurume panenge pane kuleka pauri kana kuti ndiwe uri kutadza kuronga mhuri yako. He is a very weak guy, that man. Even ukatarisa matauro anoita, language yake, unyazoona kuti pane chinoleka pamukuru uyu. But mari inomuvharira that weakness iyoyo. Inoita kunge munhu kwaye anotaura zvine musoro because munhu ane mari and he is a generous giver. Ndosaka tichishaya vanhu kwavo because people judge based on what you have. They don't judge based on the content ye-character yemunhu. Ukatora that man pandari chairo kunzi kumusha, ndo type inonzi ava vanotaura zviri off ngavambobuda pandari. Kuuya vanhu vanotaura zvine musoro. But because of the money that and that money, I think he's just a front. He's just a front. Kune ma-oligarchs kuRussia uko, mafront aPutin, vanenge vachinzi vari kuita ma-investments outside, but dziri mari dzaPutin. He's in that bracket iyoyo. Saka mari idzodzo dzaari kuvhaira nadzo hadzisi tombori dzake futi. Handiti muona. Anenge achitotumwa kuita zvinhu zvaari kuita izvozvo. But ndoda kudzokera papoint yekuti nyaya iyi should be a reflection of also us. It's an indictment on us as a society. Tikuona mukadzi ari justice system iri kuweaponizwa, mukadzi achitambudzwa namai vake just for personal vendetta, achitotaura kuti kwai vakanzwa bha ndanzwa moza, ndanzwa mwoyo wangu uchirwadza, ini ndina mbuya inini, handiti handina day randikati even ndarambana nemwana wavo ndikati havanzwa bhata, vatori mai vangu, because pane vazukuru, pane vana vanoti mbuya vandakazvara nemwana wavo, achitoti kwai vanzwa bhata. Look at the mentality, look at that mentality. Saka let me land nekuti isusu as a society we need to magnify this thing, toona kuti how can we conscientize vanhu vazive the kind of character these people are. If this man ari one achitreata his immediate family like that, what more the people that he is representing, what more the people that he is allegedly fronting for. It means this woman Sonia is us Zimbabweans. Wicknell is this government or this Shikanandas, and this is how they are treating us. Total disregard for us. They pretend like they love us. They pretend like they are for us, but they are ready to persecute and purge us anytime, and they can use any apparatus to do that. The best way to confront nyaya idzi is to rise against it. At some point, power rakadaro harirambi riripo. It has to be confronted. Hakuna ngoma inoramba ichirira every day, vanhu vachingodhenza pamu ichirira, pane painozotsemuka.
Do we leverage that proximity to power? Is to take the same proceeds of crime and go and inject yourself into all that infrastructure that is there. These women live with the protection of power, and that is the only veil that they have. When that veil is removed, it exposes them to the public that holds a problem with them, and now we cannot seek righteousness out of the family. It doesn't work like that. It doesn't. And at the same time, when we are saying where are the women's institutes to stand up, women's institutes, even feminism itself to work, it must work in an infrastructure, a system where men are advantaged over women. In the Zimbabwean context, both men and women are disenfranchised. So you can never see a feminism group that has become more powerful in a society where repression and oppression is meted out without gender. So we suffer the same prejudice that causes men not to stand up and do anything. Why is there an expectation that where there is fear, where is repression, where is oppression, women, what has absorbed them from being the long arm of the law or of repression? So we are asking for an anomaly to happen. People didn't rise for the woman who stood up in a public hearing and spoke, and then following on, the ZRP put out a wanted post. The infrastructure to do that was lacking. Where are they expecting it to exist now for Sonia? We woke up in the morning and constructed it. It's lacking.
No, I hear you. Thank you very much, Mercy. Thank you. Right, Ru, I see your hand is now finally up. So I'm going to go with Ru. Is it Chaknak? You come through. Tezara two boy, you follow ndopedzera namukoma justice and then vacharumbira moita come through. Right, let us go with that order, please.
Mascara say Uncle Jed not ready, man.
Okay, go on.
Thank you. Yeah, no, this is a really interesting topic, and it really speaks to some of the points that have already been made, which is this shows Kuti Wicknell knows no bounds. But as I've been listening, I think the key thing that really came up for me was one, um, money is a god to Wicknell. He will even put his own children in jeopardy because when a mother na Mbuyavacho have been arrested, where are those children going? Especially if we're to believe what Sonia said, Kutujoni, she asked him to say, "Can you look after the children?" When she was going to China, and he said that, "Oh no, I'm too busy. He doesn't want to look after his own children because he's up there and everywhere." So he's willing to put his own children's well-being in jeopardy for the sake of protecting what's dear to him, which is his money. Now, you as a citizen, now you understand that money is a god to this person. I mean, we've always known that, but now you can see to the degree in which he's willing to go. Is it possible that right now he's you can see Kutijweni, he's behaving as someone who um you know, like when you're watching those criminal shows where they tell you how they arrested the big what. This now is an opportunity for Zimbabweans to apply pressure to ensure that he himself as Wicknell becomes a liability to the people that enable him. And if we can find that strategy, it can help us a lot. Now, I don't have the answers here, but I'm just looking at the situation. I'm thinking, actually, let's not make this a missed opportunity for us. There is already evidence, there's already international parties who are asking questions. Why do we always see this guy next to world leaders? The South Africans have been asking that. The Kenyans have been asking that. The Nigerians have been asking that. Now imagine if all these countries had a spotlight on this man, even more if we were to capitalize on what is going on. Can you imagine the results of that? I think we have to understand that we've got like, you know, yes, Sonia is showing and revealing certain things, but we've also got an opportunity to apply pressure to say, okay guys, some South Africans, you guys are saying you're tired of you know, Zimbabweans in your country, but you've got this Zimbabwean who has had his assets frozen. I'm not sure if they're still frozen because I think I saw a plane that was being taken out. I don't know if that was his that was being taken out of South Africa. I'm not clear on that. But can we encourage my South Africans to say, guys, make sure Kuti, these assets remain frozen. Make sure that you are screaming this to your government as much as possible if you are really serious about what you guys are standing up for. And I put this also as a question for us as Zimbabweans as what opportunity do we have right now? How do we want to capitalize on that? Yes, it can be, we can discuss it, but then at the end of it, what's the action that we are going to take as a result of what we are seeing? This man is operating because he is weak. And that's what I was trying to say, Kutushwan. You know, when criminals have been caught, often it's because they've made a mistake and they become too pompous sometimes. Like when a criminal feels like I'm untouchable, I can do whatever I want, that is when they're weakest and they can make many mistakes. And right now, Wicknell has been making many mistakes. You saw Rutendo did a video where he was debunking videos. You know, Wicknell doesn't really do videos like acknowledging whoever it is that is talking about him. In Ndakambo Mupo advice could I end the gym. He didn't say anything back to me. He just went to the gym. So we have to acknowledge Gudi. He himself, he does watch what people are saying, but when you start to see him responding, something is there. So, Zimbabweans, what are we going to do about this? What are we going to do about these opportunities that are in front of us? And maybe I'm not intelligent enough to tell you what the solution is, but right now, this guy is weak, and this is our opportunity. Thank you very much.
Right. Thank you very much. Can I go to the next speaker? Is it Chaknak? Cheknak. I hope I've said that right.
It's Chaknak. Okay.
Chaknak.
Yes. So
All right. How are you?
I'm all right. And yourself?
Thank you.
All right. Danched out in the town and Chitty, this whole thing about Sonia and everything that's happening, Cap 3 and everything that's happening. And recently, Jaitika Kuna Sonia, Jinoti offer an insight on what's going to come if this bill passes, like what other speakers have previously alluded to. My problems and one, as Zimbabweans, we have become so desensitized to what's happening around us. I think it has happened for a long time. Somebody, example, in my sewage. Zvokuti zvinhu zviri normal kwati totoona kunge zviri abnormal, and also asking for just even the basic service delivery. Toona kunge taitirwa zvinhu zvakakosha stereki, yet those are our entitlements, like we are taxpayers, right? So we should get services. Ndo mentality yamunozoona inozobuda kana munhu, a whole member of parliament, a whole minister achizoenda kunovhura bin. You get it? Ndo kunobva mentality iyo yekuti they don't know ivava vanhu vari maoffices kuti they all are services. And maona. So we're so desensitized to what's happening, and we think it's normal. These pre-trial detentions, prolonged pre-trial detentions, these extrajudiciary punishments, tinoona kunge zviri normal because it has been happening. But once taramba takanyarara, it's gonna hit home. Ndakupa example right now. Yes, zvinhu zviri kuitika ku South Africa. Tine this thing xenophobia. South Africans chaivo vanofunga vari kutaura this thing should not be allowed to keep on going. Why? Because they've seen a rise in South African indigenous people being harassed because probably they look Zimbabwean or they look like a foreigner. So zvinhu zvakashata zvikasaitwa cut they nipped at the bad stage. Blossom, kura, and then we won't be able to stop them. Somebody alluded to police something, this thing, kuti richachinja kumapurisa. Once kana, and you all know that kuti mitemo ikachinjwa, kuti mitemo yaizobviswa izoripila, it's another process. And even hurumende ikachinja, human nature is very selfish. Even tikaisa mumwe mutungamiriri, even pakachinja, mutungamiriri achakipa mitemo iri repressive. So I think as a nation, we need to have an overhaul of the whole judicial system. Because when I look at it right now, and sisina confidence yekuti even ndikaenda nenyaya yangu ndaparirwa mhosva, nyaya yangu ichahandlwa zvakanaka here. Ndisisina confidence dzekuti even ndikaenda ndiri ndaparirwa ndapara mhosva ndichabatwa zvakanaka here. Kana iri nhau yecyberbullying, mutemo yoka unotoita kunge unenge wakatogadzirirwa kuti uite kebhu vanhu vanoda kubudisa information. I'm not saying zvangu kuti apa whether I know kuti Sonia akabudisa information or haana kubudisa information, but it seems as if wakatogadzirirwa kuti in this day and the age social media, vanhu vanoda kubudisa in evidences and everything, they are now being deterred. I know people, because of this digital evidence and everything, people have a lot of things to say kana evidence, but vanhu vakutya kutobuditsa. So Sonja anenge akutoacta as chibayiro chaiswa chekuti takuona as an example kuti anenge angodai, if you step out of line, this is going to happen to you. And iye mukadzi wake, there's some form of leniency inenge iripo. In this part, I think it was more of humiliating her. Uye nekungomuratidza kuti ndini baba. Then our country also and our culture is deeply patriarchal. I want to say kuti kumadzimai, patriarchy has failed us. When people talk about Naudza Chivayo and Naudza Sonia and everything, of course they are personal issues, but because they're brought to public plus isusu titori ma stakeholder nokuti imari dzedu, vanhu vanokanganwa kuti there is the law anti this mari yakapiwa mudzimai uyu imari yevana vake sezvaanga achitaura, but she also has entitlements. Although tichi kuti imari yedu, there are proceeds of criminal activities. According to the bill, marriage bill, rinotaura kuti she's also entitled, whether she was married civil partnership or what, michato andi zvese zvangobatana. So you find kuti because our culture is very deeply patriarchal, vanhu vanoshandisa ma-emotions, vanoshandisa zvekungoti baba ndibaba, yet we are seeing mukadzi who's asking for her moral and legal entitlements being bashed. If you go online, it's mostly men who are bashing her. She should be content with what she has been given, but she's entitled to those things. So patriarchy has failed us. I'm not saying kuti all men vano support a patriarchy, and I'm not saying kuti men leadership yakaipa, but it just seems kuti patriarchy is there to suppress and oppress women, whether they are good women, whether they are getting things, process of criminal activity, but it's just there to oppress women. So I'm just saying, as women rise, go into those positions of decision making, rise, endayo kumusoro pahasha pacho ipapapo, and tikwirewo tiitewo isusu ma-decision makers than kudecidirwa nevanhu vanenge mava nema-interests and who pit women against each other. Right now we have the madzikandas, they are now being pitted on social media against the mutekes and everything. So trukuti, when women rise and get my positions, they won't be used as my pawns chess, because at the end of the day, all these women are my pawns. And Murumo is a narcissist. Wakuti, if you saw his video this morning, paenda kuno withdraw a case, it sums it all. Zvese zvatiri kutaura zvinobuda, that just one video will be his last nail on the coffin. Thank you.
Right, thank you very much for that. Tezvara Tuboy, please come through.
Wangu zvese
Vana vamuribo.
ya ndikuze tokamira kuperekedza vachati wakamira kuperekedza vachati ari
The good thing.
nhasi friday kuperekedza but uchatangira vachati nokuti tinofa tisaita isumudza
But no, the good thing, Crystal Palace is the one that is going to give you a guard of honor.
Oh yes. Tinodada kachava tati isusu hatrophy one aiite ngatimire dziite 2 and we are quite certain kuti ikutouya chete.
Anyway,
takutonzi zvigananda minomwati asinoya zvigananda ndikati vanhu vakutsvaga kuda kutiziranisa sorry kuzwa tikukupisa kupisa zvaita isi tenge tamborova mashizha ka saka wati toibatanidza nebill number 300
ka
yeah Chivayo hasida kushaisa general.
But how though?
Tsano anditati nhasi kukupisa tendabata mashizha ndikuona ngada kusaiza general kuti general whatever you can do I can do it better.
Man.
Yo, what's the order?
I am a Roshi,
that was iwe mukwacha izvo gwagona uzvita paZimbabwe but Chivayo asa kuti general zvamakaita kuna America ndipedza kuti sitogona kukusaizai futi
pakaipa
but ndo nyika yacho wangu ukangoona nyika yakuenda kuda zvashata sometimes the power yacheruka. But I believe kuti masports asati atanga son asati atanga noti Wicknell yatanga ifamily yatanga and ane vana vakomana futi paya sano mukauya pamba panapa mukarova amai panapa kunzi Mary R1 nhasi vanhu vangu vachine ma7 years vachine ma8 years kana kuti ini tubho yacho asati ndasvika hamungatifight maiwina
aiwa hazviite.
so aubeti kuna Chivayo hamuna ngagwa akunogohwa manje anenge afa haisi rafu muraurira wamwari munhu anofa kuna vamwe vanobata mafeelings ari kutanga fight yekuti at a certain age haazogona kuipedza and its good thing anavapana vanogona kuzoipedza fight iyoyo vana vake ndo vachamupedzera fight nokuti hazviite tsana zvokuitika kuti dai baba wepanapa vakadaro kuna mai vangu vovasungisa ini ndichine 10 years panonzi ndaachibabawo ndo panotanga makasa acho ese ipapo so Wicknell ari kuzvitsvagira moto tsano avo even kwamuri tsano amuroyo antijenika paine vana vakomana
fanike inini vana vangu vese they are over 6 feet.
munokandirwa keepers
when I'm addressing him ndakatotarisa mudenga kuti hombarume muri kuti
saka munhu ari kuzvitangira mafight asina basa waona mafight ekuti munangagwa anenge asisipa haazogona kuamirira mafight yayo and anopera zviri smooth ende vanhu varume uza pane time yekuti that's nature guys pane time yekuti tinenge tisizi zvibaba kana taa kuma 60 70 oko time micheni inenge yakudonha sana
aiwa that is true.
time iyo ndo time inenge kuda nemukadzi but ukataka kumutreata matreatiro aya I don't know but
iwo zvezvinenge ndiri kutoona ambuya vake she's now being made fun of ngemamemes nechi nenyaya yekuti
ndada kutacha pana ambuya ipapa
vanzwa bhata vanzwa bhata kabutange nenge chimwana chidiki
ndada kutacha pana ambuya ipapa I hope you gonna allow me to say this
as long as musinganyazizivi
no handisingasira something pano ambuya wepanapa kana wakupinda munyaya dzepanapa ambuya vatokrosa malines hunge kana vaine mari kana vasina mari kana vava kutongopinda mafamily matters emwana wavo ana mhofu kana ane mitsana ambuya havana kukwana ende ngavatoziva malines ekunoti ambuya ngavapedzera nemurume wavo izvi kwamwana uyo akanga nemurume wake ngavazive maboundaries
makaona
vakatadza kurespecta maboundaries iyayeka ndoparadza kuti havana kukwana ambuya vavo first havana kukwana nokuti hazvishamisa nhasi togona kuchiti ambuya wakanga Wicknell akaya mangwana neGD6 saudi amutoro unoona ambuya vachiombera kuti amukwasha wangu takatadzirana takaita sei ndo vanhu vasina kukwana ivavo kuyo havana kurohwa here ngavanopedzana nemurume wavo
but in all fairness we are not quite aware of the circumstances because inini kuona vandu kuita Wicknell haringonyeba ngenyaya dzakezi
kana ukanzi anyepa tsano ambuya hapana pavaitombokwana kuti vasungiswe nemukwasha nokuti ukatina mukwasha wavakusungisa ambuya
hanzizoni Wicknell Chivayo akatora vhidhiyo ishi akatumira kuna ambuya vake as a threat kuna sonja kuti izo sonja iwe withdraw fraud case yawaita iri South Africa. So this guy is the one who sent this and then kuzobuda kwakaita vhidhiyo iyi iye to him akati izonenge ndambuya vangu chete wabudisa vhidhiyo iyi because ndo vandikatumira this video but unbeknown to him this video iyi akatombotumira mumwe munhu futi achida kumuthreatena futi kuti inini amuwewo nenge connected
mukwasha handisi kuda kubvisa ana tete kana ana mai panyaya dzevakwasha siyana nadzo ini kune kwavakarorwa kwamadzikanda uko hamene kwavakarorwa ikoko Wicknell ndekumushako ngwatorespecta kwakarorwa mwana wavo hunge akarambwa but kune vazukuru nokuti ukazona inini wamunhu wechirumeko kana wasvika pastage yekuti it's a heavy gear tsana rekusungisa ambuya pane hatizive zvavanenge vakatomboindirana mwachiroko
ataura kuti ambuya vangu vakatora hanzi nenge vakadoctor an image
ndosaka tiri kuti havana
vakaitenderedza.
kukwana mukwasha mbuya
Aiwa,
vavo.
but aiwa, what I'm saying Tsano is kuti you know that account is it factual?
We
Kuti
don't
ambuya
know.
vakazviita zvishuwa.
We don't know. The only person who knows ndambuya ivavo.
Saka ndosaka ndiri kuti is it not premature to start judging ambuya on that ningi anyaya kuti we do not have the full facts pertaining to this.
Wangu zvanongotira abhuya kutombosvika vatombokwana even nemafekisi emakuhwa zvitoratidza kuti ambuya ndofunga vana murume chaichayari nomawo pamba pavo.
Chendai.
No, munogona kundidzinga hangu ka but ichokwadi nokuti ukaona handijeniwoka ukaona inini ndakupindira nyaya dzakona handijeni amai vepanapa vakupindira nyaya dzakona handijeni zvisaka zvataudza kuti mhofu yavari panapa havana kukwana
Kuti mhofu ndimune problem.
mhofu ndovane problem saka mbuya vangu ende vanzwa bhata vafunda kuti vakwasha havajairiwe ende ambuya ndaambuya guys havasi amai vako it's separate the two. Why do you have to confuse those two? Not ukataka kuti ambuya ndamai vangu wakamboti kuna amai ako ambuya iwe
Vakatsanuka panenge pachivanhu chedu ambuya ningi ndaamai vako isusu ayamirai inini zvandoziya ndikarodza mwana wangu ningiye nemusikana. I've gained a son, they've gained a daughter. Uye atova mwana wangu ushu iye mwana wamai vaivai, you understand? Sonya mwana kuna mai vamai Chivayo. Animogona saka tikada kuisa palevel iri ramuri kuisa then pachivanhu chedu chaicho tinenge tiri kuinterpreta ningi zvisiriizvo. Ndosaka uyu
zvichivanhu izvozvo mukwasha
aiwa ndosaka uyu manje achifanira kupa respect yekuti ari kudhila namai. Kuti havasi chinyoko vakamuzvara. Yes, havasiriwo nenge vakamutumbura, but uyu ava ndimai, even okay havasiri vese zvavo, but this woman remains in that position because amai ava ndo vane makomborero anouya kune vana vake vaakazvara.
Sano, adi confusion yakadaro, sorry Bwash, sorry. I would withdraw that. I would withdraw.
No.
Ini nitori mukaranga akakwana. Hakuna ma-blessings anobva kune munhu wechikadzi. Understand that.
Alright.
Ma-blessings anobva kuna baba. Ndosaka chinzi kana mwana chaiye achinzi anonororwa kuisa yakaberekwa.
Kumbereko ndokunobva
akomana taakuvhiringidzika akomana mune munhu ane ropa rake tsana saka iwewo kana wakuzotiwa kutsvaga mablessings akubva kufamily isine ropa rako wa munhu akaita sei
inini kumbereko
we should respect it no respecta ikoko futi
kumbereko ndokunobva kuchengetwa. Kumbereko ndokunobva kudzivirirwa. Uchizvarwa iwewe chikafu chawakatanga kuziya chakabva pazamu ramai vako.
Naye mukwasha
munhu akakosha iye yamana.
Atinokosha but kuti akuna ma-blessings anobva kublood risiri rako. Mbereko yakakosha nekuti ndo mudumbu mawakagara but baba ndo vanopa ma-blessings, amai havape ma-blessings. Zingori normal zvozvifana.
Aiwa ngatiite imwe show
makamboona
ngatiite imwe show inosenta on that tsano.
Alright, ndimeendilenda hangu mukwasha.
Alright, asi ngatiite imwe show inosenta on that tionesane chivanhu nechimekare chedu.
Ndaye mukwasha. Pane episode yandakaona yemwana airorwa I think about 2-3 days ago. Amai vakanga variko, anasekuru variko. Baba vakanga vari kujera vachinzi hamene zvavo magemu avakaita vati vachimborova fedza mudhuri. Mutemo wekuZimbabwe baba vakati mukwasha airoora akati mwana anogona kutonororerwa kujeri ikoko kana kuti baba vanonoburitswa pathat episode event ikurorwa mwana iyeye. Mwana ade kurorwa kuna mai kana chiri mablessings anobva kuna mai.
Aiwa katsano. Aiwa
tizobvura musho mashizha anogona kupa
tsano interpretation yenyu yezvinhu zvikaizvo aiwa iri pashallow level. Iri pashallow level. Imimi mwana anochengetwa kwana sekuru paanororwa anororerwa kumusha kwavo. You understand? But kana iwewe usina kuchengeta mwana iyeye sei pachizobviswa mumbeni ngechiredzo?
Nekuti vanhu ivavo havasi ropa rako.
Sei vamwe vana baba vachiti ndakungotambira symbolically mari iyi but imimi ndimakarera kana pasina achitokutora henyu mari iyi nhingi ndakutobvisa nhingi roora nhingi kuroora nemwana uyu.
I think mukurasika concept yeroora mukwasha togona kuti takubata imwe topic siriyo. Mukwasha akanzi aroora kuroora kupinda musha wanatezvara first. Amai panapa havagone kurodza mwana wangu panapa wandakaita nawo kumusha kwavo nokuti mukwasha ye haana kupinda mumusha wekwamutuwere. Saka mwana wangu akanorodzwako nemadzisekuruko mukwasha ye hakwedu kwaatombori mukwasha munhu akatopaza ruzhowa. Saka chidzi mablessings anobva kuna baba.
Let us agree to disagree on that one.
Amai vasonya vasina kukwana.
All right, let us agree to
respect vanambuya vangwena kuti mari oza wakamborora family ine mari udenga ngonzi gawo yateme huni but weekend akabva muona ane mari.
This is for Chivayo. Let me give some to Manangagwa. Let me give some to Manangagwa. Chivayo was burning the marijuana when he met Manangagwa. When he met Manangagwa. Now the country is burning. The people are crying. The leaders are lying, they blame it on the sanction. Chivayo Wamanangagwa, now they run the country. They say, what a disaster, we're going to blame the sanctions. Chivayo is burning the marijuana, and he gets it for Nangagwa. He says, give me the gold, give me the gold. Zimbabwe is burning, the people are crying, the leaders are lying, they blame it on the sanctions.